Hey Arnold was one of those classic Nicktoons that was equal parts hilarious and deeply introspective. From episodes that centered around characters being blackmailed to ones about characters being self-conscious about their weight and their classmates making fun of them, there was always a lesson to be learned. Some episodes were just downright tear-jerking though, like the one where Arnold found his parents' journal and learned why they didn't come back. Be warned and bring your tissues because this episode was heavy. Now, before we talk about the episode in question, I think it's important to bring up the episode Parents' Day, because it definitely laid the groundwork for the storyline behind the disappearance of Arnold's parents. As you know from the general concept of the show, Arnold's parents, Miles and Stella, had been absent from his life since he was just a little kid. The mystery surrounding his parents had come up a few times throughout the series, but for the most part, it was quickly brushed over. That is, until the Season 3 episode Parents' Day came out. Throughout the episode, Arnold is feeling down because he's the only kid without his actual parents during the Parents' Day competition. Everyone could tell that he wasn't in his usual spirits, so eventually, his amazing grandpa told Arnold the story about how his parents met. The story was finally fleshed out and given even more depth 2 years later when the show released its two-part episode titled The Journal. In The Journal, Arnold learned almost everything he needed to know about his parents, and everyone figured out the heartbreaking truth about what actually happened to them. The truth came out on the anniversary of Miles and Stella's disappearance after a frustrated Arnold started packing away his parents' old belongings. While putting them up in the attic so he could supposedly move on, he stumbled across a journal that belonged to his father, which held all of the answers that they were looking for. But why don't we start at the beginning? Much like Arnold's grandpa told him in Parents' Day, Miles and Stella truly seemed like they were made for each other. According to Miles' journal, he was working as part of an anthropological research party in San Lorenzo. The research group included a man named Eduardo, who was his friend from college. Eduardo and Miles began their expedition, and according to his journal, it wasn't long before they met up with a botanist and physician named Stella, aka Arnold's mom. She was in San Lorenzo studying local plants and foliage to find a cure for various illnesses that plagued tribes in the jungle. Much like Grandpa had told Arnold 2 seasons before this, Stella and Miles spent a lot of time together in San Lorenzo, mainly because Arnold's father kept getting hurt and found himself being treated by her. The relationship officially started after a donkey had kicked a pile of rocks out from underneath Miles and Eduardo. Stella and her team rescued Miles and his colleague before sheltering with them for the night. Arnold's parents apparently talked and laughed throughout the night until they finally kissed. What better way to start a relationship than to be adventuring through San Lorenzo, trying to make its inhabitants a little safer? That wasn't all Miles and Stella did for the people of San Lorenzo though, as the pair basically risked their lives to save a tribe's prized idol. You see, the story that Grandpa told Arnold in Parents' Day, combined with the information found in Miles' journal, revealed that Miles and Stella had been in contact with a mysterious tribe known as the Green Eyes. The tribe was believed to be made up of the original inhabitants of San Lorenzo, and as far as anyone knows, their only interaction with anyone from modern society was when they met Stella, Miles, and Eduardo. It was lucky for them too, because the first time they ever met the Green Eyes was when one of the tribe members stepped in to save Miles and Stella. While they were out hiking up on the cliffs in the jungle, the group was about to fall down a waterfall before being saved by one of the green-eyed people. Now most people from the modern world would have been like, wow, that's crazy, and just move on with their lives. Not Stella and Miles though. The journal explained that Miles and Stella felt like they owed the tribe that saved them, and when they discovered that a pirate named La Sombra had stolen a sacred artifact, they knew just how to help. According to Miles' journal, he and Stella tracked down the artifact known as La Corazon and promptly returned it to the Green Eyes. This was their way of paying them back for saving their lives. Little did they realize that this would form a strong and everlasting connection between the tribe and the short man's future family. With such a crazy start to their relationship, the episode had fans at the edge of their seat, wondering what's going to happen next. Well, whether it was Miles's and Stella's intention or not, the couple ended up starting a family together, and it all started with a wedding. According to the episode The Journal, Arnold discovered that his parents decided to get married after returning La Corazon back to the Green-Eyed people. Interestingly enough, this was also when they were gifted a little piglet as a token of gratitude from the tribe. That piglet would turn out to be Arnold's best friend on 4 legs, Abner. The episode gets really funny for a split second as they hint that Miles and Stella consorted with one another on their wedding night, if you know what I mean. But upon realizing that part of the story was coming up, Grandpa grabbed the journal and ripped the page out, lying about it. After that, the journal explained that the newlyweds left San Lorenzo for a while and found adventure elsewhere. Ultimately, though, they were called back to the jungle to help the green-eyed people who had been struck by a strange disease. After returning, Stella determined that the tribe was suffering from a sleeping sickness of sorts. Stella and Miles managed to discover a cure and help the tribe out once again. And this time, instead of getting married when they were done, Stella realized that she was pregnant. According to the episode, the couple stayed in San Lorenzo until Arnold was born, at which time a volcano almost erupted but was silenced the moment the baby was born. This was seen as a good omen, and for a while, Stella and Miles thought they might stay in San Lorenzo. They quickly realized how hard it would be to raise a child in those conditions and made the smart decision to move back to Miles' hometown of Hillwood. After returning home with their new family, everything seemed like it was going to work out for the Shortmans. So, what went wrong? Well, it was a year after Arnold was born that he would have to say goodbye to his parents for way longer than he ever expected to. For this part of the story, it's actually better to focus on the episode Parents' Day because Grandpa gave Arnold a more in-depth explanation of what happened on the day that his parents sadly left him. For Arnold's first birthday, his grandpa claimed that his family took him to the park, where they bought him a tiny blue hat that soon became iconic to his character. His grandpa continued to explain that while they were all playing at the park, his parents ran into an old friend of theirs, Eduardo. Now, this would normally be a great thing. It's always nice to catch up with friends and colleagues. However, Eduardo came with bad news. When he showed up, he explained to Stella and Miles that the green-eyed people, though Grandpa referred to them as mountain people at the time, were in trouble. Eduardo claimed they were suffering from a terrible illness that turned out to be the same sleeping sickness that the tribe suffered from before. This is where the story really starts to pull on your heartstrings. Stella and Miles initially didn't want to return to San Lorenzo. They explained to Eduardo that they had to watch over Arnold and do what's best for their son. But Eduardo came with a compelling argument. He explained that without Miles and Stella's help, many families would suffer, including children. Arnold's parents decided that they couldn't live with themselves if they didn't help these people once again. And before saying goodbye to their son, they told him to be good for his grandparents. Now, back to the journal. Arnold and his family, who were reading it together, were at the point that they all dreaded. The end of the journal reads that Miles expected it to be a quick trip. We know that it wasn't. The episode ends with everyone feeling a bit of somber relief after reading the words of Arnold's father. Arnold couldn't put the book down, though, and as he sat on the stoop outside of their building, the journal revealed one final surprise. In the back of his dad's journal, Arnold found a map that he quickly realized was charted by his parents, meaning that it could eventually lead to them. After that, though, all of us fans were left wondering for years, would it be a happy reunion? Now, I think almost every fan is thankful when Nickelodeon finally released the movie Hey Arnold, The Jungle, and officially revealed what happened to Miles, Stella, and the Shortman family. Throughout the movie, fans got to watch as Arnold, Gerald, Helga, and even Eduardo did everything they could to traverse the San Lorenzo jungle in search of Miles and Stella. The movie eventually revealed that Miles and Stella had fallen victim to the very same sleeping sickness that they were trying to cure. When Eduardo walked Arnold up to their bodies, I couldn't help but fight back tears. For a moment, it looked almost like everything was lost, and even though Arnold found his parents, he would never be able to save them. Lucky for him, he had Helga around, who, by the end of the movie, had more than proven her love for the football head. Helga realized that she could use her heart necklace in place of La Corazon, which had seemingly been lost forever during the movie. She and Arnold placed the heart necklace into the slot the La Corazon was meant to go in, and to everyone's surprise, it worked. Everyone in the village, including Miles and Stella, woke up from their otherwise eternal slumber. Arnold was finally reunited with his parents, and the end of the movie showed the family happily living together as Arnold set off on his first day of 6th grade at PS 118. Man, that movie was satisfying on so many levels for someone who grew up watching the show. What do you think, though? Did you enjoy finally learning the truth about Arnold's parents through the episodes Parents' Day, The Journal, and the Hey Arnold movie? Or did you prefer it when it was a mystery? Be sure to let me know in the comments below.